Hey everybody, just want to share a quick little insight from my City General Conference this morning. While I was on my morning run, I was listening to James E. Talmage's October 1930 address, and it was fantastic. It was all about the church. And he talks about the fact that whereas the church is chosen, that doesn't mean we're immune from sin. And specifically, the sin he wanted to highlight was the sin of idolatry. And then he goes in to highlight 3 different ways that idolatry creeps into the church. He mentioned that the first way it creeps in is when we place something above the Lord, when we place something above Him in our lives and our priorities. And he gives examples of work or stocks or sports or whatever it may be. And he goes, the way you can tell that thing has become idolatrous is when you've elevated its position to the point that you break the commandments or you don't do your duty because of that thing. When you skip church to go watch the NFL, NFL is the idolatry. When you reject a calling because you want to have free weekends, your weekend has become your God. It's idolatry. When you decide, I don't want to have kids, I don't really want to multiply and replenish the earth because I want to travel, that's become your idol. That's your idolatry. And he goes in and he points out that is idolatry. And that idolatry at its root is adultery. It is adultery towards our relationship with Christ. And that idolatry and adultery are the same root sin. It is when we break that covenant relationship that we have with the Lord and those promises with Him. He then goes on to detail how breaking the Sabbath day is another example of idolatry that is creeping in amongst the members of the church. And if it was back in 1930, it definitely feel like it's in 2025. And then he talks about tithing and how with tithing, that roughly 50% of the church pays tithing. And he goes, what do you want to be? Do you want to be a 50% member or do you want to be a 100%er? And his encouragement was for each of us to choose to be a 100%er. He then also talks about the important role of prophets and how the prophets are there to guide us, to show us, and to point out what the Lord would have us do. And I think it's very important because a lot of people want to live in the extremes. They want to say, okay, you know what, you guys look up to the prophets and you realize that they're men, but you look up to them, so therefore that's idolatry. That's not idolatry. Idolatry is, once again, when you prioritize something over Christ. We don't prioritize the prophets over Christ. That'd be stupid. That would be like prioritizing the pizza delivery guy over the pizza. That's not how it works. The prophets point us to Christ. The prophets speak the words of Christ. The Lord has given them what's called divine investiture, where He has said that their words are His words. And as far as He's concerned, they're the same. So if you truly love Christ, you're going to follow His prophets. And if you're not following His prophets, it's because at the root heart of your soul, you really don't love Christ. And that is something that a lot of people struggle with because they want to believe that they can do their own thing and follow their own imaginary Christ. So when the real Christ speaks through His real prophets, it cuts them to the core and they either reject them or they have to repent. And that's hard.